David is on the ground crying. His son Absalom is dead. His house is wrecked. The crown on his head doesn't feel like a reward. It feels like a consequence. There is no triumph here. No clean resolution. Just failure, fallout, and grace that somehow still holds. 2 Samuel starts where 1 Samuel left off. Saul's dead, Jonathan's dead, and the throne is finally open. David, who's been hunted and doubted, is finally ready to take the throne. But instead of peace, we get bloodshed. Instead of legacy, we get a collapse. The whole thing is a slow-motion disaster, one personal failure after another, until the whole kingdom starts to buckle under the weight of it all. David will win battles. He'll bring the ark back to Jerusalem. He'll try to build God a temple, but at home, his own house is rotting. He'll commit adultery, cover it up with murder, ignore his children's crimes, and watch his family blow up right in front of him. Still, God sticks with him, not because David earned it, but because grace doesn't quit. David hears Saul and Jonathan are dead. Everyone expects him to cheer. Saul hunted him for years. Now he's out of the picture, finally. But David doesn't celebrate. He weeps, rips his clothes, writes a song, How the Mighty Have Fallen. It's not a stunt, he means it, because Saul was still God's anointed, and Jonathan was his best friend. David becomes king, but only over Judah. The rest of the country backs Saul's son, Ishbosheth. But like that, Israel is split in two. A civil war breaks out. Joab, David's military guy, kills Abner, the other side's general. Then Ishbosheth gets stabbed in his sleep by his own men. David doesn't cheer. He executes the assassins. He wants the crown, but not like that. Finally, David becomes king over all of Israel, and instead of keeping the capital in the enemy territory, he picks a neutral site, Jerusalem. Smart move, political and spiritual. Then he brings the Ark of the Covenant into the city, but with music and dancing. David's out there in front, stripped down to his linen robes, leaping like nobody's watching. But somebody is watching. Michal, his wife. She's embarrassed, says he looks like a fool. David's response? I'll be even more undignified than this. This is David at his best, joyful, unashamed, leading people back toward God. But right underneath the surface, cracks are forming. He's impulsive, emotional, and not great at calling things out when they go sideways. That is about to cost him. After getting established, David looks around his new palace and says, "Why am I living in this thing if God's ark is still in a tent?" So he tells Nathan the prophet, "I want to build God a real house." Nathan says, "Sure, sounds great." But that night, God tells Nathan to pump the brakes. David's not going to build me a house. I'm going to be building him one. That's the deal now known as Davidic covenant. God promises that someone from David's line will reign forever. That promise points all the way to Jesus. This is a massive moment, and David's response is solid. He prays, humbly, thankful. And then he blows it. One night, he's up on the roof and sees a woman bathing. Her name's Bathsheba. She's married to Uriah, one of David's best soldiers. David sends for her, sleeps with her. She gets pregnant. Now he's got a problem. He brings Uriah home, hoping he'll sleep with his wife and think the baby's his. But Uriah refuses. He says, "My guys are sleeping on the ground in tents. I'm not going home." So David sends him back with a sealed letter telling Joab to make sure Uriah ends up dead. Joab does what he's told. Uriah dies. David marries Bathsheba. Problem solved, right? Then Nathan shows up, telling a story about a rich guy stealing a poor man's lamb. David's furious, says that guy should die. Nathan says, "You're that guy." David finally sees it. He repents. He writes Psalm 51, "Create in me a clean heart, O God." It's raw and honest. He owns it. God forgives him. But Nathan warns, the sword is never leaving your house. And he's right. This story is brought to you by Wayfarers Loreworks, the sacred art studio behind every image you see. And now, for the first time, these illustrations are available for purchase. Each piece is a visual relic, forged from scripture, steeped in legend, crafted to carry awe into your home. Explore and collect at wayfarerschase.com. See the scripture, frame the legend. David's sin doesn't just hit him, it hits everyone around him. Amnon, one of his sons, becomes obsessed with his half-sister, Tamar. He fakes being sick, lures her in, and assaults her, then throws her out. David hears about it, gets angry, but does nothing. So Tamar's full brother, Absalom, waits. 2 years later, he invites Amnon to a party and kills him. Absalom runs, and again, David does nothing. Eventually, Absalom comes back to Jerusalem, but David won't talk to him. For 2 more years, he freezes him out. Absalom's done waiting. He starts winning people over, standing at the gates, saying what they want to hear. He builds a following, then declares himself king. David runs, barefoot, weeping. His own son has launched a coup. Before the battle, David begs his generals, go easy on Absalom. Joab doesn't care. Absalom gets caught in a tree, literally, and Joab finally finishes him. When David hears, he breaks. Absalom, my son, if only I had died instead of you. This isn't politics anymore. This is a father who let things rot, and now it's too late. David comes back to power, but the spark is gone. His troops just won the war, but he's still grieving. Joab calls him out. You better face your men, or you'll lose them too. David pulls it together, but he's different now. The country's tired, so is he. Then there's another rebellion, this time led by a guy named Sheba. Joab handles it. But things still aren't right. Then David makes another mistake. He orders a national census. God told him not to. He does it anyway. It's about control, about pride. The result? A plague. Thousands die. David repents again, buys a threshing floor, and offers a sacrifice. That spot, Mount Moriah, will one day be where the temple is built. Even when David messes up, God keeps moving the plan forward. The book doesn't end with a speech. It ends with a list. David's warriors, men who stood by him through everything. Some famous, some forgotten. Like David, they weren't perfect, but they stayed in it. So, can someone chase God's heart and still screw everything up? David did, but he didn't walk away. He owned it, and God didn't cut him off. Jesus still came from David's line. That's what grace is. It's not clean, it's not earned, but real. 2 Samuel isn't a victory lap. It's what happens after the crown goes on and everything starts to fall apart. But God stays in the story anyway. Next up, 1 Kings. Solomon steps in. Big wisdom, but a big crisis. It's already showing. And remember, this isn't just a history. This is your inheritance. Pray for me, and I for you. Keep looking up. If this hit you deeper than expected, there's more. Check the full playlist to follow the story, from Genesis to Revelation, book by book, breath by breath. Subscribe if you haven't, and share it with someone who needs to hear this story. This is a very long road, and we're just getting started.